talking about the phospholipid bilayer of the cell membrane and how it has hydrophobic ends and hydrophilic ends, and it lets some things in and some things out, but not everything. Well, what was the vocab word for that?
Semi-permeable.
Semi-permeable. So the membrane is semi-permeable, and we were looking at an extreme close-up view of the phospholipid bilayer with our last example. Now what we're going to do is kind of zoom back out, and we're going to look at kind of the membrane and how it works to be semi-permeable. So the things you're going to need are a piece of window screen. Do not cut it out of your parents' window. Ask them first where you can find some window screen that is not used anymore. If you have a piece of clear tubing, like maybe for an aquarium, or you can find it at the hardware store, find a piece of clear tubing.
Maybe a jumbo straw would do?
Maybe a jumbo straw might work out from your last example of the mitochondria. You also need to have rubber bands. Hair ties will work out fine. Some toothpicks, some beads of different sizes, and then a clear container that you can use as your cell, the cell wall or the cell membrane on the outside. Okay, so now that we have all of our items, we're going to start to put together our cell membrane example. So I'm going to take this screen, and Olas, you can make yours with me too. And you want to have all of your items on the outside to start with. Okay, so I'm going to place my screen over the top of my jar. Be like a jelly jar or something like that. And so now I've got the rubber band over the top to hold it into place. And I'm going to take my clear tubing, and if you have clear tubing and a chance to do this, you can, but you don't have to. I cut a little tiny hole in my screen so that I can fit the clear tubing in. So now we have our example of the cell membrane. The screen is the phospholipid bilayer. That's that hydrophilic and hydrophobic double layer that we were talking about before. The clear tubing is something called a protein channel. Now we know that the cell membrane is semi-permeable, so some things can get in and some things can get out. But sometimes we want things to go in, like sugar molecules, that are too big to fit through the phospholipid bilayer. So your cells have a protein channel, just like this tube, that help to get in those bigger molecules. Okay, now that you've got your cell membrane set up, we're going to try and get some of those molecules in. So Olas is demonstrating how some of the molecules, like this white sugar molecule, are going through, and they're using the protein tube. Now I'm going to take this water molecule that's going to be demonstrated by the toothpick, and I'm going to see if it can fit through our phospholipid bilayer without the protein channel. And it can, so those guys can get through without going through a special channel.
That sugar molecule, on the other hand, is having a hard time going through that permeable membrane. So it needs to utilize that protein channel.
The protein channel to get through. Now, let's say that we have a molecule that is a little bit bigger. This molecule might not fit, so we're going to try first through our membrane, and it's not fitting through the phospholipid bilayer. And then I'm going to try through my protein channel, and guess what? It's still too big, it's not going through. So that's showing that our cell membrane is semi-permeable. That means that some things get in, but you know what? There's other molecules that don't get in at all. And that's protective for your cell. So that's our example. The last thing you can do for fun is, now that the objects are inside, you've got your molecule of sugar on the inside and your molecule of water on the inside, you're going to try and get it out without opening your cell membrane.
Might want to take that clogged carbohydrate that couldn't get in there.
And my hint is, yes, it is possible. So keep trying, and we would love it if you videotaped yourself trying to get out the water molecule and the sugar molecule.
All right, well that wraps up our demonstrations on some of the activities you can do to create your models of the organelles of the cell. Feel free to be creative and use different objects and items if you want to use your creativity to construct some of these organelles. And what else, Meg?
That's it! Yay! Okay, super extreme close-up.
Enjoy!